In this video, I'll provide an overview of Part 5 and Part 6 of our research project. So here we are on a home page, and I will click on the weekly modules, and then I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. Note that the Airbnb research project module has all of the assignments in one place, and so this video is covering Part 5 and Part 6. So your group is going to present for about 10 minutes on your project where you analyzed Airbnb data for a business idea. So your presentation is going to have the following components. It's going to have an introduction that tells us about the city, your business idea, and your outside research that you used to support it. This you did in part 1 that you submitted earlier in the semester. And then for your body, you're going to explain the methodology, so what variables of interest you analyzed, where the data came from, and any issues with the data, and there's always issues. And then here you're going to provide your descriptive and inferential statistics. These came from your part 2 and your part 3 that your group submitted to me for feedback. So your descriptive statistics, the presentation should have some charts and graphs. And for your inferential statistics, you should be reporting your confidence interval estimate, your hypothesis test of either a mean or a proportion, and the correlation or regression analysis that you did. And then you'll have a slide on your discussion, which is the so what. So how are you going to use the data that you analyzed to make some decisions and some recommendations for your business? And then you do have to list all of your secondary research using APA format. So list your references. I have a rubric, and you can click on here for a printable version, but if you scroll down, I do have the rubric here that you can see how the points are set up for each component in the assignment and what's considered exceeds standards, meets standards, and needs improvement. So read through that and let me know if you have any questions. Now, I have a link right here. If you click on that, this will give you all of the examples. And so here's the examples for part number 5. There's 2 student examples, and then I have an example that I created for Montreal. So you'll want to take a look at these so you can see what it entails. But what's more important is this template that you're going to use, and I'll go ahead and download it right now and walk you through it. So I'm making this full screen. You'll need a title page, which has a title for your presentation and your group members' names and the semester. Then here's your introduction. So you're going to explain the city you chose, your business purpose, and reasons why. So this is where your secondary research off the internet will come in. Then here's a slide for the methodology. So I do have some guiding questions here. Where'd the data come from? What kinds of listings were you interested in? What variables did you analyze? And what are some issues you have with the data? Here's a slide where I have my descriptive statistics ready to go. So I'll put in some charts and tables, maybe a pie chart or a bar chart. And then for my confidence interval estimate, I'm going to include a descriptive statistics table as well as my confidence interval estimate that I created. We did this on the price per night, but you might have also created confidence interval estimates for any numeric value in your data set. And then I have a slide for hypothesis testing of a mean. So if your group tested the average of something, like the average price per night, you'll use this slide and you just have to fill in the blanks. So you want to provide each of the variables and the critical values and your formula here. If you did a hypothesis test of a proportion, then you only need this slide and you'll fill in all the blanks and explain your hypothesis test. I don't expect any group to do both, so just identify the slide that applies to you and then delete the other one. I also have a slide for your correlation and regression analysis. So in class we ran a regression, so that lowercase r, and you can go ahead and plug that r value or the table in here. And here's the hypothesis test for a correlation. You may or may not be running a regression. You only run the regression if your correlation turns out to have a relationship as demonstrated by your hypothesis test. And then here's a slide for discussing your business implications. So what does this mean? What are some recommendations or decisions that you can now make based on your data? And then again, include secondary sources or outside research that support your ideas on this slide. And then here's a slide for your references. So insert any links to any websites where you got data from the outside world to support what it is you're researching. So I'm going to go ahead and click back real quick. I do have the link to the template here as well. So I want to make it available in both places in case people forget. So there's a link to it here, but also a link on the example slide. I'm going to go ahead and click back one more time. So the other component of the assignment is a handout. So I'll go ahead and click on part 6. And so for the handout, it's a 1 to 2 page document that puts everything together in a written format. So it's not going to look like your PowerPoint with a bunch of bullets. Rather, this is going to be written in paragraph form where you're explaining all the various components of your presentation. So your introduction or the about the study where you're explaining the city, the business idea, and secondary sources. It should be in paragraph format. And then your data analysis, these are your descriptive and inferential statistics. Again, here you're going to be inserting any charts and graphs, but you also need to explain in paragraph form what the charts mean. So just think about anything that you do in the presentation, anything you say, it has to be put in writing. So you're learning to communicate statistics visually in a PowerPoint and in written communication through the executive summary. And then again, you'll have a section where you're explaining the so what, so the conclusions of your data and your recommendations. And then again, you'll want to list any references as footnotes. Again, the executive summary handout is not a copy paste of your PowerPoint. It is a full document with paragraphs and full sentences that decision makers can reference and review and promote. So imagine I'm a banker that might be loaning money to you. You're presenting to me. I've got this handout in front of me with nice details. And so when I walk away from the business meeting, I still have this handout with enough information so I can decide whether or not I'm going to loan money to you for your business. So again, I've got a rubric. If we scroll all the way down here, you can see how the points are structured for each piece of the assignment and what's considered exceeds, meets, or needs improvement. And then again, I do have a link here. It'll take you to the examples. And so at the very bottom, we have example part 6 for the handouts. I have 2 examples by students, and then I have 1 example by an instructor. And so everything you need can be found in Canvas. And then if you have any questions, just let me know.